Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. I want to start by saying you may hear some lawnmower noise in the background. I'm recording this on Sunday. It's a beautiful day out. Everybody's out mowing the lawn, except me. I'm recording this podcast. Hopefully you don't hear it, or hopefully my noise canceling software will take care of it. But just in case, that's what's going on. Now, last week I only released one video, which is kind of disappointing, but the reason is not disappointing. The reason is because we had both of my grandsons, Colton and Calvin, over 6 days the week before. And that was great. We had a wonderful time, but basically it's impossible to get any degree of recording and video editing done when you've got a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old over at your house. So this week I should be back to normal. Well, the channel should be back to normal. I'm going to be whatever I am, normal or not. And let's see, so we got this podcast today, and then Wednesday, I hope to have a review done comparing two commercial bagels, low-carb bagels, the one by Hero and the one by Aunt Millie's Live Carb Smart. I don't know what the recipe video is going to be quite yet. I'm working on that. I would have had a recipe video last week, but I had a handful of failures. Things just didn't turn out. And the reason they didn't turn out is because I took some ideas from Facebook. And I'll come back to Facebook in a second, or maybe I'll do it right now. Recipes on Facebook, I think, are pretty much unreliable. First off, I think a lot of them are just AI. I think, especially like the pictures, you look at them, they're either AI or they're just stock photos. Because one of the things that I was working on last week was this egg loaf. And I know a number of you make this. I know other channels have made this. And I've heard basically it winds up tasting kind of like French toast. But I was working on the egg loaf, seeing if I couldn't elevate it, take it up another level. And very often on Facebook, the recipes, besides being kind of fake-ish, at least in terms of the pictures, and very often in terms of the ingredients, very often they're not recipes at all. It's just like, put some eggs and cream cheese together and bake them, like that. Which, in a way, I kind of like that, because then I don't feel like I'm kind of plagiarizing someone else's ideas. I'm building off a foundation. I also wonder on some of the open keto channels on Facebook, how many of these are just trolls? Because I saw a recipe, a keto recipe for the best keto grilled cheese ever. And it was using Texas toast, just regular thick white bread. And it was a grilled cheese recipe, just, 2 slices of bread, put some butter on the outside and griddle it up, and ta-da, you've got your keto grilled cheese, except for the fact that it's not keto. So I'd be curious to know how many of you actually get out on Facebook, follow channels like mine or anybody else's out on Facebook, because I really haven't been posting anything out on Facebook. It's just, I get out there and it just seems like a mess. It's like the junk drawer of the internet. But I'd be curious to know how many of you are out there on Facebook actively following channels like mine or anybody else's, and if you'd like to see me post recipes out on Facebook. Basically, it would be not so much recipes as just links to my cooking videos out on Facebook. Because I find that YouTube notifications are really, I was going to say hit or miss, but they seem to be more miss than hit. And one of the reasons I think that is because the number of views I get on a day where I release a video is not significantly different from the days when I don't release a video. So to me, that means maybe people aren't getting notifications. That's just my hypothesis. I think it was in my last podcast when I mentioned that I feel a connection to a great many of you. And when I don't see comments from some of you for a long time, I get concerned, and it turned out that was valid, and because one of my longtime viewers passed away. But that's sort of a segue into a couple of new things that are going on with YouTube comments. One is they have changed the way that comments are sorted for content creators. The default is now what YouTube calls most relevant. And I don't know what that means. I haven't seen any sort of a pattern. But I go into comments and it shows most relevant, which is comments I've already seen or replied to and things like that. And then I have to manually go and choose newest comments and then scroll through and see which ones I hit, which ones I didn't hit, which ones I've read, which ones I've replied to, which ones I've given a heart to. So if you ever don't get a response from me or get a heart from me or something like that, don't feel bad. It's just YouTube is making it more and more difficult, I think, for content creators to actively engage with their community. Another thing that I've seen is viewers leaving me comments saying that their comments aren't appearing. Well, they are. It's just YouTube seems now to be a little bit slower. I don't know if the AI is looking at comments, looking for things, keywords, trigger words, something like that. But even often when I reply to one of your comments, it doesn't post for several minutes, sometimes longer. And what I'll do is, like I said, I'll get comments from some of you saying, this is the third time I've tried leaving a comment and it just doesn't show up. And I go through and I'm like, well, I see all three, so it must have just been sort of delayed. So if you post a comment and then go right back in and you don't see your comment, it's nothing to get alarmed with. It's not me deleting comments. It's not YouTube deleting comments, I hope. But rather, it's just this delay that seems to be going on now with comments on YouTube. So don't panic. So last weekend, we had Terry's 40th high school reunion that we went to. And it was kind of cool. I've thought a lot about my own high school reunion. My 40th is next year, and I haven't attended any high school reunion since my 10th. And when I went there, it was still everybody still in the same sort of cliques that they used to be in back in high school, and every bit as annoying as they used to be back in high school. But anyhow, Terry's high school reunion, she loved it because Terry was sort of a late blossomer. She was, I don't know what I'd call her, nerdy, maybe a little nerdy back in high school, and sort of plain. And she absolutely, and I know I'm biased, but she was absolutely the best looking woman at the reunion, and definitely the most, well, in the top two in terms of overall fit and body composition. So she was loving it because everyone's like, oh, Terry, wow, look at you. Meanwhile, in terms of the guys, I wasn't too bad either. Again, I'm biased, but I would say I was probably in the top two, maybe three in terms of fit. A lot of people kind of heavy and looking old. I mean, old. If I would have seen some of Terry's classmates, and I know this probably sounds super petty and stuff, but if I were to have seen some of Terry's classmates and not known how old they are, I would have said 10 years older than me. And I'm not saying this like to pat myself on the back. I'm saying this because keto did this. 10 years ago, I looked every bit as old as these people look now. I looked every bit as unfit as these people did now. So it's cool walking into an environment like that, any sort of environment like that, where you are probably one of the most healthy people there. So I've talked in the past about how there's nothing that tastes as good as the feeling that you get when you haven't seen someone or someone hasn't seen you in a long time, and they're just amazed. They're amazed at your transformation. They're amazed at what keto has done for you. And I kind of got a little bit of a taste of that feeling at Terry's high school reunion. And I hope that any of you that have a high school reunion or any sort of a reunion that's coming up where people haven't seen you in a long time, you can get that same sort of a feeling, because it's pretty awesome and it's a great motivator to stick with this lifestyle on those tough days. From time to time, I will mention the paid membership option on this channel, no obligation, and basically all three tiers are the same, all three price levels. You get the same at 99 cents per month as you would at $10 a month. It's just you get the thrill of supporting the channel a little bit more, if that's a thrill. But the perks you get at all levels include advanced views of my videos, behind the scenes info, and once a month I do an Ask Me Anything. Let's try that again. Once a month I do an Ask Me Anything video. Sometimes twice a month. This month might actually be twice a month because I got so many good questions. This is not a live chat. I don't really like doing live streams. They're just a little bit too chaotic, and sometimes there's just a lot of dead time. I feel like I'm doing a filibuster or something, just trying to fill time waiting for the next question. So it's easier this way to collect a bunch of questions from people and then answer them in the Ask Me Anything session, which I do over there in my office, same place I do the Keto Chow giveaways, so slightly different environment than the podcast. And I really enjoy it. I think my paid channel members really enjoy it. It allows me to answer questions that maybe aren't something I would discuss in a podcast. However, one of the questions that I got, and because this last session that I did, this last Ask Me Anything, was running kind of long, I wasn't able to get to all of the questions. And one of the questions, so you're gonna get a taste right now of what the Ask Me Anything is kind of like, is do you have an antidote to stress eating. And I kind of think of it almost like a flow chart. If you can do this, do this. If you can't, then do this. So, stress eating. First off, and this is probably the hardest part, is can you eliminate that stress? Is it something that is a chronic, recurring thing that you can eliminate? That's hard, especially if it's family or if it's work related. So, if you can, great. If you can't, let's move on to the next step, which is there something you can do within your own self to mitigate the stress? Could you study Stoic philosophy, for example? So every day I read a chapter, it's not really a chapter, it's a page out of the Daily Stoic, and it gives me a little something to think about through the day, a little bit about not letting myself become emotionally hijacked. So there's that. Or depending on where you are spiritually, there's prayer, there's meditation. These are things that can help calm you, soothe you, and maybe keep you from being stressed. If none of that is your bag, then let's see. I think you could potentially, if you've got like a before picture, before you started keto, an especially awful looking picture, you're looking really heavy, you put that on the fridge or you put it on the cookie jar or wherever you're going to put it. Now, stress eating does become more difficult, I think, when you are a keto person in a non-keto household, which I am. So very often for me, the next tier of safety net is if I'm going to stress eat, do I have something that I can stress eat that isn't bad for me? So I always make sure that I have some easily accessible keto snacks. Whether it's, I'll buy a cheese tray, for example. I get whatever the 4-cheese cheese tray is at Costco or at Sam's Club, because then I can just have a couple of pieces of cheese, I'm good. Or some olives, and I'm good. Or a hard-boiled egg. These are my snacks. And so if I feel stressed, which I don't all that often anymore, but if I do, then, or if I've got the munchies or whatever it is, I can have one of these things and not feel guilty about it, not feel that I'm in any way impacting my ketones or my blood glucose. So I think that's probably the way I approach it. The other thing too, just thought of this, is, and this is what I would do when I'm doing an extended fast, is I'm feeling hungry. I want to eat something. I'll tell myself, you know what? You can eat something, but first you need to work out, or first you need to go for a walk, or first you need to do something productive. Go clean the bathroom. And very often, once you've done something, you've gotten away and done something productive for 20 minutes, a half an hour, whatever that time period is, that craving, at least for me, is gone. Maybe it's because the stress is gone, maybe because it's the craving is gone, but maybe it's psychologically, especially if I've worked out, I don't want to erase what I just accomplished. So those would be my suggestions just off the top of my head, but I would love to hear if any of you have a strategy to combat stress eating. What do you do? Let us all know down in the comments below. But I think that is going to be it for this week. I'm feeling really motivated this week. I'm excited about the possibility of getting back to a 3-video week after, this past one. So as always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for leaving comments. Thanks for watching.